I am Leehong. I am a game dev generalist at Weyrdworks. Weyrdworks is one of the companies here in Malaysia game dev scene. And I am the game dev generalist, which means I work on a variety of stuff. Like, yes, thank you so much. Is the mouse working? Ah, okay. Okay. All right, thank you. So, for me, as a game dev generalist, I mostly work on game programming, game design, UX design, and there are a few more like visual effects, pet behavior design, programming, all sort of stuff. So that's what I was expected of being a game dev generalist, but actually I was just graduated last year, October. So at the end of this month, end of this November, at December 1st, it will exactly mark 1 year of my experience in the game dev industry. So it was quite surprising as well as a unique experience for me to be able to share what I've learned in the industry over this year. Okay, thank you so much. All right, so today my topic will be focusing on game designing as well as giving you a few tips and tricks I've learned during my 1 year journey in Weyrdworks. So hopefully this will be insightful for all of you who are maybe upcoming game dev students or like just like game in general, or maybe you have been in the industry for a while. So hopefully I'm able to teach you something new or share something I find interesting in that you can use in. So what is game design? So game design is a very general term. So when we think about game design, some people will think of like it's just a simple idea, whereas you just make that idea possible. But it has so much elements being engulfed in that general term. So I studied game programming in Utah. So what I've learned is not game design, but how to make the game designer idea into a possibility. So when I go into this role as a game dev generalist, in game design, I like to think of it as just a series, multiple series of problem solving. So what are the types of problems I'm solving? It's all leading to creating experience. So games are experiences where we try to bundle up all of these different types of experience into a product that we give to our consumers, which are our players. So, for example, a horror game like Outlast. So, Outlast, is it a fun game for people who cannot handle horror element at all? Maybe. Especially, it will be fun for players or like for viewers, audience to just look at the player's reaction. So that all can be part of the experience, not just the experience from the player themselves, as well as the experience of the audience. So all of this is just like different types of experience that we can all bundle up inside a product. So being a game designer is all about thinking about what's the experience that I want to provide to my players. So in order to create that, we have a lot of problems to solve. So, shit. Okay. This doesn't show up anyway. So this was originally the UI navigation of Weyrdworks. So Weyrdworks is one of our game in Weyrdworks. So it's a desktop pad game. So instead of showing this, this is just a gameplay video where I show how we implemented UI navigation in Weyrdworks. But instead of that, let's just show some other stuff. All right, so there are multiple things that I've learned in my journey in Weyrdworks. Then I'm going to separate them into 3 parts. So for the first part, I want to focus more on interface. So interface, as you guys have known in the game industry. So user interface is basically the element that the player interact with in order to interact with the game. So user interface, it has a lot of stuff, like for example, showing you the different kinds of information, allowing the players knowing that what elements they can change, what elements they can adjust in order to do something that they intend to. So what I've learned in Weyrdworks, how we can improve interface, first is game juice. So what's game juice? It's not something edible. It's something that the player feels. So for example, in this GIF file here, it's Potionomics. It's a very fun game about creating potions and haggling. So you can see there's so much visual element being shown here, like the amount of the potion, how many is the percentage increment. Then you can see, although I can just show this element without anything more, like a simple visual, a simple percentage, you can see there's so many moving elements here. So all of these different moving elements, they are not something that I have thought of during my university. So in our game, we have a dedicated manager, a dedicated script for all of this visual feedback. So all of this feedback is what I like to call game juice. So you can see in all of these games, they have like a lot of moving elements to emphasize. Keep note of emphasis, like what sort of changes that you want the players to feel, to see. Like for example, when I'm increasing the price of my potion, I want the players feel that they are achieving something. So you can see there's like the bobbing effect. As well as once I've made my transaction, I've earned my money, you can see the counter. It's not just simply popping from one number to another. There's animation there to emphasize on the increment of money, the gain of money. So this is game juice. So in game juice, you can already spend a lot of time investing on that. Then there's also another thing called substance and style. Substance is basically what you want to show. Then the style is basically all of the effect. So I'll talk more about substance and style later, but bear in mind, you cannot just have substance and also you cannot just have style. You need to think of what sort of information you want to display. So information is basically everything that we show in video games to let them know, the players, what they can learn. Though there is one thing, we have the power to control which elements to show, which value to show. Then there is also the fact that there are some elements that we try to hide in video games. So all of these different elements, they are quite different in each video game, so it's very hard to explain, because I cannot just show Potionomics, then expect everyone have played it. So all of this information are quite difficult to discuss, but the easiest way is determining what the player can see. So you can try to adjust, like, for example, what if I'm playing Elden Ring, but I hide the boss health bar? Will it be fun for the gamers? In Elden Ring, I'm not sure, but that's what they did in Cuphead. So it's one of the values, one of the levers that game designer can trigger, can adjust. So the display of information, just a simple show information or don't show information, does change a lot in game design, in the experience that you want to provide. Then last is UI friction. So friction is not like me dragging my feet along the floor. It's how many clicks the player has to do to achieve what they want. So in UI friction, a lot of times we try to reduce this friction as much as we can. So this is what we did in our Weyrdworks development. So in Weyrdworks, one of our games, I would say curse, is we have so much UI elements that all of them are bound to clicks, where you need to click this to go to this menu, then in this menu, go to pet settings, pet customization, click on pet, then change the head. So many clicks. So many clicks that originally we thought it was fine, until we have one player who really likes our game, but has a condition where it's not carpal tunnel, whereas it's like clicks make his hand hurt a lot, especially like numerous clicks. So that is some sort of wake-up call for us to really focus on what we can improve. So UI friction, that one, we are still ongoing in the process to determine what we can adjust to reduce this UI friction. So one of the examples I found is Legend of Heroes, Trails of Cold Steel. So basically you can see here, in a lot of JRPGs, or RPG in general, you can choose fight. You can choose to melee attack, magic, use item, run away. So in Trails of Cold Steel 1, which has, oh sorry, I don't think I'm supposed to touch the screen. Anyway, you can see in order to choose all of the elements, I have to cycle this view bar to select the action. So let's say if I want to move, it's like 1, 2, then in the move menu, then I have to select where to move. So you can see in a lot of games, they have slowly migrated, in JRPGs, they have slowly migrated to a control scheme where I can just access the things that I want to do in just one button. So it's one of the things that you may not notice at first, but it is a thing that you should think about when making your game, UI friction. So if we are talking about style in user interface, nothing can beat Persona 5. So Persona 5 is already been 7 years, but I think it's still the best in terms of UI design, graphics, as well as the balance of substance and style. So you can see this here, the combat, when you are selecting an option that's already implemented where you can just press one button to access a certain action. But besides that, there's one thing in improving style in user interface. It's not just through the user interface. You can see when I'm trying to select the enemies that I want to use, there's like subtle nudges of the camera, cinematography, to highly emphasize on which enemy I'm targeting in. Then as well as when I'm selecting a menu, you can see all of the slight camera movements, the slight camera changes, as well as once I select a magic spell, it cut into a camera with a transition, then change back, like all of these subtle elements, visual effects that's covering your whole screen. When you slow down, it feels like a lot. But when you speed it up in like a normal gameplay sense, it feels good, very good. So it's one of the things that you can seriously spend a lot of time in balancing substance and style and UI friction. So this is the interface about video games where you can improve on game design. So the second thing is human psychology. What's this? I don't know. I just studied game programming. Then when I look into game design is basically creating experience that go through in your mind, in your audience mind. So understanding how the brain works, as well as how you can provide fun. Well, not every games are designed to be fun. If you play this War of Mine, I wouldn't call it fun, but it's very an interesting experience. Then all of these experiences are happening in your mind, then that's where psychology comes in. So there are a few things in human psychology. For today, I'm going to talk about motivations, the types of players, as well as habits and intuitive design. So, motivation. So there are two types of motivation in video games, intrinsic motivation and extrinsic motivation. Motivation are basically what you want the players to do inside your game. So intrinsic motivation is basically what the goals or challenges that the players have come up themselves to make the game more fun. So that's how we get like games with a lot of customization ability, like for example, Animal Crossing or Minecraft, where it's up to the players to determine what they want to do, what they want to achieve. Then there's extrinsic motivation, where there are games like, for example, GTA 5. So it's quite a linear game when you just dive into the main gameplay story, where it's very hard, if you played GTA 5 before, it's very hard to diverge into a different path. But all of this different motivation, what does it give to our players? What motivation or what kind of experience they give to our players? So this is the thing that all of us game designers have to think about. It's about balancing the experience, balancing what they want to do. So in Minecraft, for example, the intrinsic motivation is maybe trying to get armor, diamond armor, find diamond ore then trying to defeat the Elder Dragon. So all of these things are not being asked by the game, although it's in the achievement system, which is a subtle nudge from the game designer themselves. They are there not because you get rewarded for doing them, but because it gives the player the direction to do so. So that's how just implementing a simple achievement system can slightly nudge the experience of the player. Like you want the player to do something like this. Then the player do something like this, they had fun, which is what we all wanted to do. So motivation in our game, Weyrdworks. So in Weyrdworks, it's a desktop pet game where if you take care of your pet is happy, they will find you different kinds of treasure on your island. Then using those kind of treasure, you'll get currency. Then use those currency, you can buy a lot of stuff to decorate your island, to decorate your house, or to customize your pet. So all of these things, they are not listed in our game quest. So basically, we have a daily quest where it's just like feed your pet, pet your pet, then throw your pet into the water or something. Then these are just the daily quests where once you complete it, they will give you money, they will give you currency, they will give you experience, but we didn't told you that what you can do with those currencies. All of them is just in the shop. Then there's no quest like decorate your island 5 times or customize your pet with 10 hats or something. Those are up to the players to creatively express themselves. So it's this balancing of different types of motivation that we want to deliver our experiences. Making games, it's very hard to break, like for example, getting new players, like people that aren't familiar into the gaming space itself. A lot of video game players, they are already familiar or played a few games already. So a lot of times, it's easier as well as more convenient for us to start designing stuff that the players are already familiar with. So for example, when you are pressing escape for the settings menu pop up, which is something you expected. We did not do that for some reason. So all of these are only start to become more prevalent when we start playtesting. So remember what the players have already familiar themselves with inside different types of video games. So next, gear icon for settings menu, that is more of a graphic design thing, where some sort of UI elements, like for example, the 2 straight lines for pause. For some reason, that icon is already associated with the pause action. So when you are trying to make a pause action, just use the icons that the players are already familiar. Then control scheme preference in certain games. So there are some players, when I make a first-person shooting game, there are some players, not some, just 2, who like their reload button not on R. What? So each player have their own control scheme preferences, and if you cannot cater to those preferences, their experience in the game will downgrade a lot. So we have to think about how we can cater to them. So one of the easiest solutions is just come up with a hotkey customization ability, but that is quite difficult to implement if you have been working on that before. But it's one of the things that we can try to cater our experience to more players as much as possible. Basically expanding our target audience. Then next, the treasure behind waterfall. Have you experienced the disappointment when you go through a game world of waterfall where there's nothing behind it? We don't want that disappointment. Instead of disappointment, we want to give them the experience of just, even cliche experience is much more better than having disappointment as well as no experience at all. Like just for example, leaving a signpost saying, oh, no treasure here, but you found a secret spot behind the waterfall. Yay. So yeah, this is just intuitive design where, especially for all of you guys who may have played a lot of games, this is something that you can think more about as well as implement into your product. Then remember, the players will be disappointed when they are not in the game. So unless this disappointment is an experience that you want to deliver to your players, it's best to cater as much player as possible. So yeah, then another thing about human psychology, where this is something that I've learned, is humans in general, most of us have a desire to teach, as well as to see growth. So to see growth, meaning like that is basically what every game wants to be, where there are a lot of games where you can see the number pop up, then you feel happy. Then how can we deliver this experience in a desktop pad game? So this is one of the systems that I came up with, is the discovery system. So basically, when your pet, they have lived enough, they have experienced enough stuff, they will find something new. Then when it's something new, I don't want the pet to just learn about, oh, humans wear clothes. It's not fun that way. So how can I make this into an experience that the player can enjoy? Basically, I just toss the question to the players. So do humans wear clothes? I don't know. Ask the players. Like for the players to determine what interaction they want to have with their players. So once you have selected your option, your pet will grow in one of our attributes. Like your pet may grow more confident if you pick stylish and feel very cool. Then if you pick sunburn, then maybe the pet will be more emphatic because, oh, all humans need to wear clothes. Why so weak? So yeah, think about how you can manipulate the human brain. Not manipulate, more like making your design more smoother to what the actual players would feel. Then if we are talking about all of this, like following the rules, then there's no novelty, then the game may not be fun, then game design is hard, man. Okay, then the last thing, which is the most important thing, is, oh, it's 3 p.m. already. I'll try to be quick. Observation and communication. The most important thing is playtest your game. Once you have made a product, or once you have made a prototype of your product, or just an idea, just come up with pen and paper design. Playtest, playtest, playtest. Give it to a player, give it to a random stranger. Ask them to play your game. There are so many things that you can see when you give your game to the players. So last time at Level Up KL, we at Weyrdworks, we set up a booth there. Then we just set up our game. Then we let the players to join, sit down, play our game. It was tiring. Like there are so many design elements that I want to include in our game, but when it comes to the actual play, the players are confused. They don't know they can interact with this. They don't know they can do that. So there are a lot of stuff where it becomes more prevalent when you have started game testing. Especially as a game designer, you must be there when playtesting occurs. That's where you can see where are the UI frictions, where are the parts, where are the interaction that the player felt that it's not fun, or maybe it's just boring. So yeah. Next is, these 3 questions are basically what I kept asking myself when I'm playtesting my games, or like just talking about game design in general. What do I want in my game? What does the game want? So what does the game want mean? This question will only come up when you are more experienced in game developing. When you are making like multiple projects, sometimes the project will just go into a direction where you did not design it at first. It's just like, maybe it feels better, it feels more fun that way when you are prototyping. So it's very difficult to explain what listening to a game is, but it's an intuition where it's very important to know what does the game want. Then games are not just game for yourself. We, especially in the industry level, we are making games for other players to play. So it's very important to think about your target audience. I know sometimes thinking of the target audience, you are not sure what you want to do. So for example, for me, I play a lot of Valorant, I play a lot of League of Legends, I play a lot of toxic games, but in my company, I have to make a cozy desktop hack game, which is like very different than what I usually play. So it's very important to listen to, especially in a live service game. I have the benefit of having our Discord community to give different kinds of advice, but it's very nice for them to share their opinions. The mouse died. Okay, so the weird thing about game design is it's very hard, but it's very fun. So there are so many elements here in game design where I just only talk about 3. And in each of them, you can spend months or years in it just to perfect that craft. So next slide, please. Oh, is it mouse moving? Oh, it's moving. Okay. Okay, so here are some of the resources that I've learned when I migrated from my game programmer role to my game dev generalist role. So to learn about game design, the Art of Game Design book is very good. This is basically teaching you the 100 lenses of perspective where you can ask the game questions. Like, for example, there's one lens that's my favorite, the lens of surprises. Through this lens, is there any surprises in my game? Is the surprises fun enough for my game? So think about games like Dave the Diver. There are so many things popping up that it kept surprising the players. That's where the fun experience comes. Then next is Atomic Habits. This is the book where I started to think more about human psychology in video games, in game design. Then as well as if you can apply all of these habits inside your personal lifestyle, then you start to think more clearly. You start having like consistent learning habits, which is very beneficial. Then next, I'm a very big D&D player. Then I have one sad truth is nobody wants to DM for me. So I have been being the Dungeon Master for about 4 to 5 years. Then that experience basically led me to be able to think about a lot of different stuff when I transitioned into a game dev generalist role. So if you haven't heard about D&D before, I suggested giving it a try. Just think about like different types of stuff you can do, different types of role plays and stuff. Then videos. These are the my most two recommended video series that usually I watch back to get motivation, to get like inspired to make video games. So yeah, and this is our game, Weyrdworks. It's a desktop pad game. Then if you want to talk more about game design or check out more of our games, you can scan this QR code to get into our Discord, then start discussing with us. I'll be there quite actively. 10, 5, 3, 1, okay. So that's all from my talk. Thank you very much for listening.
Okay, thank you so much, Leehong. That was an amazing, amazing talk, by the way. I also really like the design of the game. But I think we have time for just quick 1 or 2 questions. Does anyone want to ask him anything real quick? Otherwise, actually, I have one.
Yes.
So what was your main inspiration when you came up with all of this? I understand you mentioned that you played Dungeons and Dragons, right? So how did that translate into like inspiring about the things that you have gotten like design overall?
In terms of game design, how D&D has helped me the most is definitely world building as well as character writing. So in Weyrdworks, right now it's just a simple island with like desktop pads roaming around, but we are working on some sort of, wait, I'm not sure if I can say this or not. But in D&D, because I'm making my own D&D world, a fantasy world for my players to enjoy themselves in, and over these years, I picked up like very weird trivia, like how does mountain form, how does river flow, like all of this minor stuff. Those sorts of minor things really did help out in like the world design for my game, for Weyrdworks.
Okay, then thank you so much for your presentation. Can we give a quick round of applause to Leehong here for Weyrdworks?
Thank you so much. Thank you, Marcus.
Yeah, do check out his game. I think it's a very, very cute one as well.